endless enthusiasm.
Hello, mega loud shout out everyone. Welcome to my live stream.
So in 1910, the Prince earns his pilot's license number 38.
Pasok lang guys sa mga hindi busy dyan.
The first aircraft to be used by the Prussian Army is the Fahrmann 3. From 1910, the first German military pilots are trained on this type of aircraft. In the same year, the U.S. Army is already testing the dropping of bombs with the Fahrmann 3. The big problem, especially in Germany, is still the availability of powerful yet lightweight aircraft engines. For this reason, the Kaiser Award for the best German aircraft engine is announced in 1912. The National Flight Fundraising Drive, which brings in over 7 million marks, also serves to promote military aviation and training. Pilots today no longer have any issues with the performance of their engines. The two engines.
Hello, mega loud shout out. Me time. Welcome to my live stream. Thank you, sis. Thank you for coming.
Corresponds to approximately 35 to 45,000.
Ang tagal na kitang hindi ka na ba nagla-live?
The group of the Tactical Air Force Squadron 74 in Neuburg is the material and logistical squadron. It ensures that the Eurofighters in the fleet are always in perfect operating condition. Entire engines can also be replaced here.
Kumusta sis?
Yes, sir. Move front and rear.
Silent lang sis eh. Busy ba sa work? Ngayon lang din ako nakakapag-live kasi Ramadan. So night yung duty ko, okay lang po. Night yung duty ko kaya nakakapag-live paminsan-minsan, update lang. Thank you for coming. Bisitahin ko nga yung mo.
There are mechanical and electronic specialists. Mechanical specialists can be aircraft mechanics responsible for the hydraulics.
Wait lang.
Then come the rescue system crew or the flight equipment.
Wait lang sis.
They're responsible for the pilot's flight suit or even the pilot's ejection seat. They're followed by the materials crew. They're responsible for the structure and for the fiber composites of the aircraft. In the avionics crew are the RF engineers responsible for the aircraft's radar and self-defense systems. Add to this the automatic control engineers along with the guidance and navigation control engineers. It fits. In total, the 7 soldiers require just under 20 minutes for an engine change. After the engine has been replaced, the jet is subjected to a rigorous test procedure.
Hello, Miguel out, shout out! Alan TV Vlog, thank you bro, thank you for coming. Tamsak host, ganda naman yan. Sana all. Thank you.
Now, the engine is powered up. Testing with the
Ngayon lang nakakapag ulit.
90 kilonewtons of thrust is also a mandatory step.
Nakakapag
Eurofighter has successfully
update.
passed the test. Will it be put back into service?
Baba lang kayo ng bahay, guys. Me time, baba kasi ng bahay.
Air Force Squadron 74 in Neuburg on the Danube.
Baka hindi mo pa kikit si Alan TV Vlog.
Will be touching down on the airfield. They're returning from their training mission. The aircraft located in their airspace was successfully identified. The Eurofighter is currently the most modern flying weapons system of the German Air Force. It's been in operation since April 2004. The squadron's technical group ensures that the modern combat aircraft are mission ready at all times. When the pilots return from their sorties, lasting almost 2 hours, the aircraft mechanics of the maintenance squadron.
Nitime, sige sis, baba ako, salamat. Nitime, dito ako sa bahay mo. Ang ingay ng TV.
The aircraft is now returned after the first flight.
Nitime lalabs, dikitan mo to si Alan TV Vlog, legit to. Ayan, nagbaba ng bahay si Nitime.
Accordingly, every inch of the aircraft undergoes a complete visual
Bro Alan, baba ka ng bahay, please.
To see whether any damages occurred to the aircraft during the flight, are any bolts missing, did anything come loose during the high forces exerted, have any leaks occurred. Then I look at all the systems, checking everything out. I look at the fluid levels, they're checked and topped if necessary.
Lalabs,
The
ni time
aircraft is
wala ka
then
bang
refueled.
harang?
Und gegebenenfalls aufgefüllt.
Naku, bakit wala kang harang? Ay, meron.
A sense of responsibility, in-depth technical understanding, and conscientious work are basic requirements in daily operations with the Eurofighter weapon system. Refueling the jet takes just under 5 minutes.
Mabababa lang guys, maglablaban kayo dyan. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Dito ako sa bahay mo. Wait lang ha, kasi may mga tinatapos ako. Sige. Wait lang.
Damage could have occurred here due to foreign objects, but also due to birds being sucked in. Prior to takeoff, the Eurofighter pilot and his maintenance engineer go over the aircraft one last time and check all the important components. Not only the mechanical systems play a key role, but also the avionics. The Eurofighter is no ordinary combat aircraft. It's a supersonic high-performance computer with wings. Once both are convinced that the jet is 100% ready for action, the pilot prepares for takeoff. On his helmet is the helmet visor. This projects all important data directly in front of his eyes.
Ayan, nagbaba ng bahay si Alan TV Vlog. Ipin kita ni time.
In the takeoff phase, which is more or less the last check before the aircraft goes up into the air,
Dikitan mo to si Alan TV Vlog ni time.
engineers down below. Then they go
Legit friend ko yan.
In some circumstances, a fault may crop up down below that the pilot cannot see away from the cockpit. The pilot and the maintenance crew then reach an agreement. Can the aircraft fly? Yes or no? Since its foundation, the German Air Force has been subject to constant change. Time and again, it has had to adapt to global and strategic conditions. More than 100 years ago, the military began to conquer the skies. Progress was then advanced by war. When the First World War breaks out in August 1914, aircraft have existed for only a few years. Germany marches through the neutral countries of Belgium and Luxembourg and invades France. But the German offensive ends at the Marne. This is where mobile warfare turns into trench warfare. Large-scale battles of attrition and material seek to wear down the enemy. The consequence, for only minimal gains in terrain, hundreds of thousands of soldiers perish on the battlefields. Thus, the idea of a completely new theater of war is born: the air. Aircraft are initially used for reconnaissance flights over the fronts. Equipped with the then modern high-resolution aerial cameras, they're able to scout the enemy's deployments and positions. The Rumpler C-4 is a classic example of a reconnaissance and multi-role combat aircraft from the First World War. About 2,000 planes in various versions were built. The Rumpler C-4 can climb to about 6,000 to 7,000 meters and stay in the
Hello, make a loud shout out, AD Ramat.
for a reconnaissance plane.
Thank you for coming. Bigyan kita ng jacket.
Reconnaissance planes were not invulnerable for long.
AD Ramat, you have jacket now.
In 1915, the French
Alan
began
TV,
using
MLSO.
and equipping them with machine guns. And they were designed with a rigid machine gun pointing in the longitudinal direction of the aircraft. So that
You can drop your link, AD Ramat.
The German side, seeking to urgently respond.
Please connect to our friends here. Anytime, Alan TV Vlog.
So that the observer had an NG. And then they did the same thing at the French.
Alan TV Vlog, dinalaw na kita, sabi ni Anytime.
The Fokker E4 was the first thoroughbred German.
Thanks, Ate Host. You're welcome.
The problem is that if the machine gun does what it's supposed to do, which is shoot forward, the propeller also does what it's supposed to do, which is to turn forward. That poses somewhat of a structural problem. The pilot ran the risk of shooting up his own propeller. And the Germans, specifically the Fokker plant in Schwerin, succeeded in solving this riddle by running an ellipse in sync with the propeller. Whenever the propeller was right in front of the machine gun, the mechanism prevented the NG from firing, and this enabled the machine gun to shoot through the spinning propeller.
With these planes, military pilots are turned into fighter pilots. Probably the most famous of them all was Manfred Freiherr von Richthofen, who became known as the Red Baron. His red-painted Fokker DR-1 is a copy of the British Sopwith triplane. The maneuverable triplane also sparks the mystique surrounding Richthofen and all the
Ayan,
other
nagbaba
fighter
ng
pilots.
bahay si Ramat. Please connect,
They're
guys.
young, and they have the success to show for it. But the problem is, I need to do something that makes military sense, something worthwhile. But I also have to be able to sell it. And when an observer has taken 4,000 high-resolution aerial photos, anyone with a camera at home will say to themselves, that can't be too hard. But if someone has shot down 20 planes, that is something everyone can identify with. 40 planes, 60 planes, 80 planes, an incredible success. Whether it was very important from a military standpoint is another matter entirely. Those are measurable propaganda successes for the people back home. And above all, it's all about the individual, a warrior, the archetype of a warrior, the master of technology who practically wages man-to-man combat here in the plane.
In addition to the fighters, another new type of aircraft is emerging, the bomber.
Bakit hindi pa?
The more stable and powerful the aircraft become, the more weapon systems and payloads they're able to carry.
Idi Ramat, I'm here to your house.
More bombs and fight the enemy far
Spirit
behind the front lines.
Healer, mega loud shout out.
Spread fear and terror.
Thank
And
you
the
for
bombs no
coming.
longer distinguish between civilians and soldiers. Blackout measures, anti-aircraft guns, searchlight batteries. These are all measures used
Okay,
in the
Ate
Second
Host, you're
World War to
welcome.
fend off enemy bombings.
Spiritual Healer, please drop your link.
Already existed in the First World War. Especially the British bundle all their air defense measures and are able to protect their country successfully
Please
against
connect to
hostile
the
German
one that I
bombers.
pinned. Anytime.
In January 1918,
And also
the Germans
Alan
once
TV
again
Vlog.
raised the ante with their brand new Fokker D7. Shortly before the end of the war, German pilots are then in possession of
Ate
what's
Host is
probably
beautiful
the best
dress.
fighter aircraft
Thank
at
you.
that time. The D7 is
I'm still here in your house, Idi
At the
Ramat.
same time, it's extremely easy to fly. Another advantage is its enormous climbing ability, which it owes to the BMW 3A high altitude
I'm still in the
engine
harem.
with overcompression. Even the Fokker D7 can no longer shape the outcome of the war. The German Empire is in shambles, and the war is lost. In November 1918, the German High Command signs an armistice. The plane was so superior that in the Peace Treaty of Versailles, the
Okay,
surrender
guys,
of all
please
Fokker
connect to Alan
D7s
TV
is made
Vlog.
a specific condition.
At the end of the First World War, the Peace Treaty of Versailles was devastating for the German Air Force and for the German aviation industry, because the Peace Treaty of Versailles stipulated that Germany was to no longer have an air force at all.
On January 21st, 1919, the German Air Force is officially disbanded.
Thanks, Ate Host. I'm plants.
Aircraft
It's
engines still in
basil.
existence have to be handed
Yeah,
over
I
to the
see it.
Allies.
It's basil.
Even the construction of
Yeah,
civilian
it's good.
aircraft
You have.
is strictly regulated. Many German companies discontinue aircraft production or relocate abroad. The Treaty of Versailles limits the German Reichswehr, or Imperial
Basil
Army,
is a
to
healthy
100,000
food.
men.
Healthy
Many of the
vegetables.
former war pilots tried to find a job in the so-called Free Corps or as civilian pilots.
Ma'am, hina.
When
Sorry.
civilian air
Ma'am,
traffic
hinaan yung
was
TV.
once again allowed
Wait
during the
lang.
1920s, we can assume that a large proportion of the pilots were trained in this way, and also that the types of aircraft introduced were designed to also be available.
Sorry. Sorry, guys. Ang lakas pala ng
And
TV
in
ko.
the case of the
Okay
small
na ba?
training planes for German commercial flight schools, those flying machines were not much different from military planes to begin with. In other words, basic flight.
Okay na. Hello, mega loud shout out, Margie Valorio. Thank you. Kapasok mo lang. Thank you sa palipad. Thank you so much. Si Jongjix po ito. Sir, thank you so much. Bakas lang po. Thank you. Yahoo, Margie. Thank you for coming. Short lang to. Short live lang. Update lang guys. Update lang.
Neuburg on the Danube.
Thank you sa pakulay. Lalab Mards. Gracielle, you okay? Thank you for coming. Miguel Out, shout out.
These modern devices adapt to the needs of the pilots.
Idi Ramat, please connect to Naytime. She's done to you.
These are developed by active and former pilots.
Miguel Out, shout out mga lalabs.
And squadron captain.
There's a unit of the German armed forces here that is compiling a database based on satellite imagery, based on photographs, and so depending on the area.
Hindi ko napansin ang lakas pala ng TV ko.
Norway or the Baltics or in Asia and Portugal.
Wala lang, yan lang yung background. Oh my God. Ang dami mong palipad lalab smart. Sana all. Walang tunog sa TV. Thank you. Gusto nyo ba magpa-games tayo?
Only the cockpit canopy was omitted. Several simulators can be linked. This enables the training of joint missions.
Hello, BFF Alan. Wala tayong mix si Bro Alan, Lalab Marge. Andyan lang yan. Idi Ramat, I'm done to your house. Kasi hindi nakikita. Mipat na.
In order to demonstrate the readiness that we require at a lower cost. We can't prove the country.
Thank you sa paharang, spiritual healer.
But we are, and you can't measure that. Here in the simulator, we want to break the chain of events that leads to an aviation accident. We want to train people.
Ang dami mo sigurong alagad, no?
500 emergency scenarios we can run.
Harang dito, ma'am. Yasmin Ilmaco, mega loud shout out. Thank you. I will give you jacket. Ayan, may jacket ka na, Yasmin. Pwede ka magbaba ng bahay. Hello, BFF host. Thank you sa pakulay, Margie.
Training and flying takes place in the early 1930s on training gliders. January 30th, 1933 marks the beginning of a new era. Adolf Hitler seizes power and is appointed Reich Chancellor. In the following May, he already establishes the Reich Aviation Ministry.
Ayan, ang dami kong palipad ngayon. Nagliparan. Ang daming palipad. Thank you sa palipad dyan. Lalab Marge. Si Jongjix to, ma'am. Para harangan kita. Oh, thank you so much. Oo, thank you. Ice cream BFF kasi mainit ang panahon. Yes, sana all. Halo-halo naman, halo-halo. Wait lang, mas dito ako sa bahay.
The German Air Force built up to a strength of over 2 million men.
Discovery Channel, mega loud shout out, paharang ulit sa'yo.
Becomes the commander-in-chief of the Luftwaffe.
Jongjix, ang dami mong alagad. Sa'yo din ba to?
And close confidant of Adolf Hitler. His mission is to prepare the troops.
Tita, nandito na ako. Mega loud shout out, Jalen Trifalgar. Thank you for coming. Ayan, pinapadami ko pa. Tinatanong ko nga sila kung magpapag-games ba. Lalab Mars, magpapag-games tayo.
When Hitler's Germany invades Poland on September 1st, 1930.
Wag mo na jacket eh. Okay. Hayaan mo na jaketan ko.
Works closely with the
Ayan, bakit naman yung pusa mo yung pinalipad mo sa akin, Lalag Marts? Thank you. Itim pa. Itim pa na pusa. Salamat. Thank you, Lalabs. Anong oras na ba dyan? Wala pa naman. Maiksi lang tong live ko, alam mo naman. Lalayas na naman ako mamaya.
The disadvantage was that this dive bomber, specifically the Yuka's Ju-87,
Hindi pa ako nag-supply
designed
pala.
precisely for this purpose, lacked the capability of carrying a large number of bombs, and naturally did not have the bomb payloads that
Wait.
the A-111 had.
The Heinke He 111 served
Pag
as a
nakaharang ka ng 1 hour, maya
heavy-duty bomber
jackpot
filled with
ka,
tactical
hehe.
metal.
Talaga?
A bomb load of about 2,000 kilograms.
Mayroon bang sabi nila mayroon pang mas mahigit. Ewan ko, parang hindi pa ako nakaranas ng ganun, spiritual healer, ng 1 oras na harang. Sana all ay yayamanin ka na talaga, Madam Margie. Maraming ayuda si Madam Margie, Bro Alan. Nakapag-ipon ilang araw siyang hindi nakapag-LS. Ayan guys, please connect to Idi Ramat. Guys, baka hindi nyo pa dikit si Idi Ramat, our friend from Indonesia. Please connect guys.
This is where the Germans deployed one of their newest weapons, paratroopers and airborne troops. By this time, it has become obvious just how important transport aircraft like the Junkers U-52 are. The main task of the three-engine Junkers U-52-3M.
Kagabi, meron LS na pasukan ko. Grabe, 1.5 hours harang niya sa LS niya, ma'am. Oh, grabe. Hala, meron palang ganun.
The U-52 is a critical aircraft.
Galing naman. So, ang laki ng bigay ni ni Lolo. Pag ganun ang haba ng harang niya, jackpot.
Once again, rely on the close coordination between the Luftwaffe and ground units. Shielded from the air by the most
Thank you sa paharang dyan. Thank you so much.
Bf-109
Lalab Mars, thank you so much sa pagtambay.
has a speed of around 600 kilometers per hour and a range of about 800 kilometers. It owes its high-flying performance to features that are not standard at the time. Fuselage in shell construction, self-supporting wings, and a 12-cylinder high-performance engine. In the Bf-109E version, the fighter is armed with 2 machine guns and 2 automatic.
Ayan, Zombie Channel, harang dito, ma'am. Jong Jex, ikaw din ba to? Mega loud shoutout po sa lahat, sabi ni Ma'am Margie.
Also falls within a few weeks and signs the Armistice Treaty on June 22nd, 1940. Also in Compiègne.
Oo, ma'am, ako yan, ang dami mong alagad.
Germany at the end of the First World War in 1918. But Adolf Hitler and his generals
Tinitingnan ko rin sa mga alagad ko kung
once again,
ano.
the Luftwaffe is to play a pivotal role.
Pero wala pa akong na mahaba yung harang ko. Siguro pag malalaking na,
On June
channel.
22nd, 1941, the German Wehrmacht invades the Soviet Union. Again, the Luftwaffe fights in close coordination with the 3 army groups. leading the
Ate
attack.
Margie Valorio is done, sabi ni Idi Ramat. Lalabs, done na daw si Idi Ramat sa'yo.
The Germans begin bombing airfields to destroy the majority of Soviet
10 lang
aircraft.
sila, hehe.
But by the end of 1941, the German offensive has already come to a standstill. Hitler's Blitzkrieg hopes proved to be pure wishful thinking.
And then the Soviet counteroffensive began. Then from 1943-44, the Germans can no longer act but only react. And that applied equally to the Luftwaffe, which meant
Pag mga
Luftwaffe flying personnel, aircraft.
Yung Jix pag dance channel, harang. Thank you. Pinasok mo na silang lahat. Sir Jong. Jong, nabaro ka na. Pag mga 1 oras ba yung harang? Wala bang harang, BFF?
In 1943,
Hayaan mo lang, nandyan lang yan. Pag mga 1 hour yung harang, malaki ang bigay ni Lolo.
The Allied landing in Normandy on June 6, 1944 marks the beginning of
Salamat po, my friend. You're welcome. Thank you din sa'yo. Mga $1 up, ma'am. Wow. Sana all.
Unlike the German Luftwaffe from the beginning, Britain and the United States.
Hello, mega loud shout out sa aking member, Ronald My Love. Sa harang pa host, musta po? Okay lang. Thank you so much. Wala na si Bro Alan, umalis na yata. Bro Alan, nandiyan ka pa ba? Yan guys, please connect to Margie Valorio TV.
Is equipped with more anti-aircraft guns than Germany, but there's a shortage of soldiers. For that reason, German flak is operated mainly by conscripted civilians.
Ayan, may harang ka na, BFF. Thank you. Nang Tofi, hi. Please promote me. Mega loud shout out ng NG Tofi.
For 1 or 2 people. Almost unopposed, the Allies fly their missions on German cities.
I already give you jacket. Game na ko, di joke haha. Game ka na, anong gusto mong game? Wait lang. Dito ko host, kinig lang. Salamat, Bro Alan. The restaurant, mega loud shout out. Harang ulit. Thank you naman sa support dyan. Sir Jong, BG lang, don't worry, di kita iiwan. Oo, huwag mo akong iwan, Bro Alan. Thank you. Di, joke lang. Baka may gagawin ka. Okay lang.
Yet the new missiles failed to influence the course of the war. Another new so-called wonder weapon is the Messerschmitt Me-262. It's the world's first fully operational fighter jet, and clearly
NG Tofi, only 5 banana need to complete my 1K. Okay, I will help you. So guys, please connect to NG Tofi.
Arrives too late. There is a shortage of pilots and above all, of fuel for the gas-guzzling turbines of the Me-262. The Messerschmitt Me-163 Comet, also referred to as Kaftai or Power Egg, is also no longer of decisive significance in the war. The world's first rocket-propelled fighter accelerates to nearly 1,000 kilometers per hour. The rocket turbine allows the light aircraft to climb to 12,000 meters within 3 minutes.
NG Tofi,
However, the burn time
I will visit your house. What's this? 1K. You already 1K sub.
And the small Me-163 only has a minimal range.
I'm here to your house.
As a ground combat support fighter that only scramble when
Ma'am, bakit iba ang link ng nakapin? Lalab Smarts, iba daw yung link mo.
May 1945.
Pa-check nga.
Is finally defeated. The Second World War left behind 60 million dead and a Europe.
Sir Jong, baba ka ng bahay para ipin ko. Ang link na nakapin ay link LS nyo. Ay, Lalab Mars. Wag yung LS ko yung Nakapunta na ako sa lugar mo.
The 4 allies, the Americans, the French, the British, and the Soviet Union took
Guys, please connect to NG Tofi.
administration in Germany.
The Allies had already negotiated the
I'm here to your house, NG.
1945. Divided up into 4 occupation zones, Germany was to be comprehensively demilitarized, denazify
Mag-aayuda
and
ako dito, ma'am.
democratize.
Thank you, Sir Jong. Thank you.
Between the United States and
Bigyan ko 5
August
ang
1945,
nakapin.
with the first use
So,
of
NG Tofik, spiritual healer, he will give you 5 banana.
embers.
Okay? Please connect to
Transitions seamless
spiritual healer. Okay?
a Cold War.
Ayan, nagbaba ng bahay si Lalab Smarts.
Runs straight through Germany.
+1. Sir Jung, thank you so much. Thank you.
Speaks of an iron curtain.
Ang bait naman, sana all.
Two blocks.
Maraming saging. Ayuda.
In 1949, two German states are founded, the Federal Republic of Germany and the German Democratic Republic. But still without an army, but soon with armed forces. In the Federal Republic, the Federal
NG
Army
Tofik, I'm still here in your house, okay?
barracked People's Police.
There was the formation of an airborne police force, which was essentially the predecessor of the air defense.
Sir Jong, baba ka ng bahay para madikitan ka rin nila.
There was a similar development with the Federal Border Guard on the western side.
11:30 na.
Sounding like border security at first. They too were armed, equipped, outfitted militarily.
Sorry po, nag-send kasi ako community ko BFF. Yun nga nasa isip ko. Thank you sa pag-share. Thank you sa pag-share, Lalabs. Thank you. Divinity Channel +3 harang tamsak sa'yo, ma'am. Thank you, Sir Jong. Thank you. Walang katapusang pasasalamat sa'yo. Salamat at nakapasok din ako sa LS mo at nakilala kita. Mga legit friend natin. Baba ka rin ng bahay mo, Sir Jong. +3 harang tamsak sa'yo, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ayan, Ma'am Margie, bigyan kita 5. Ayan, Lalabs Margie Valorio, bibigyan ka daw niya ng 5 saging ni Sir Jong. Mabait yan. Sir Jong, baba mo kasi yung yung main mo. Balikan ko po kayo. Love you all. Alan TV Vlog, baba ka ulit ng bahay. I'm still here in your house, NG Tofik. I'm still watching. Pasensya na, kailangan kong magpaalam ng maaga dahil magtatrabaho pa ako. Thank you so much, Idi Rama. Thank you for coming. See you next time. Take care. Ayan, nagbaba ng bahay si Alan TV Vlog. Salamat po, Idol Spiritual Healer. Sir Jong, masyadong mong tinatago yung main mo. Sana all, ganito ka maraming nag-aayuda. Dito na ako sa bahay ni Saan na yun?
Im Juli 1956 beginnen diese deutschen Fluglehrer mit der Ausbildung eigener Piloten der Bundeswehr.
Following basic flight training, the jet pilots complete their advanced training. Special focus is placed on group flying in close formation, behavior in dangerous situations, and instrument and night flying.
Morning.
In the GDR
Si Lightis,
people are marching again.
Ano nga ba yun?
In the spring of 1950, the Soviet Union calls for the creation
Tanong
of an
sa
East
pharmacy,
German army based on
nakalimutan.
the Soviet model. This includes an air
Tanong
force.
mo sa pharmacy.
Packed in crates, some MiG-15 fighter planes arrived in the GDR from the Soviet Union to
2
train
days
East
na ako
German
may laman,
pilots.
sobrang sakit. Ayan na si Sir Jong. Jong Jix Channel, yan po yung main ni Ayan, bibigyan kita ng jacket. Ayan ang main ni Spiritual Healer. Nabubulol ako sa sa name ng ninja mo. Ayan, baba mo yung bahay mo, Sir Jong, para malablab ka rin nila. Asan na?
The main assignment of the
Sky Trooper TV, mega loud shout out. Plus 4 tamsak harang dito sa'yo, ma'am. Thank you naman. Ang dami nila. Ang dami nilang nagsisuguran.
An alarm is sounded virtually every day.
Zum Beispiel war ein Anlass zur Alarmausbildung.
For example, an event that triggered an alarm was when NATO military aircraft approached the border. They could be reconnaissance planes, but they could also be fighter bombers.
Nachtbomber sein.
Like the Starfighter, for example. On July 14th, 1960, the first Starfighter flight took place over German
NG Tofi, are you still there?
carrying a
Go to channel lang kayo, guys. Salamat po. Ayan, go to channel, guys, kay Sir Jong.
kilometers per hour.
Ayan yung main ni Spiritual Healer. Yan ang main niya.
800 kilometers.
Sa ating mabait na kaibigan, nag-aayuda.
And the fighter bomber had an uncomfortably hard seat. The NATO strategy of the 1950s was one of so-called massive retaliation. In the event of an attack, according to the Warsaw Treaty, NATO could have responded at any time with the use of nuclear bombs.
Das war damals schon absehbar.
Even at that time, it was already foreseeable that the nuclear role would be an essential task. The Starfighter was best suited for the job.
Retired Colonel Gerd Overhoff is a starfighter pilot from day one. After attending officers training school, he goes
Ma'am Margie, OTW5.
in the USA. He then
Ayan, OTW sa'yo, Lalab
The
Marge.
officer quickly rises through the ranks. Squadron captain.
Thank you kay Sir Jong.
Ministry of Defense and NATO.
Di ka pa nag-LS, Sir Jong?
Based on his own experience, the colonel can best assess the biggest concern to the German Air Force in the 1960s, the Starfighter Crisis.
Thank you sa pagtambay, Bro Alan.
Number of crashes involving this aircraft in the German armed forces. In 1965 alone, 15 pilots lose their lives in 26 crashes. It's referred to in the vernacular as the Widowmaker.
Wait lang, guys, ha. Di pa ako nagsuklay.
Looking back, there were, in my view, three factors that ultimately caused the Starfighter crisis to come to a head. It was inexperience on all three levels.
Das war die Unerfahrenheit in
The first level, the leadership of the German Air Force.
der
Its general officers were still from the Second World War, and it had no experience with such a high-performance Mach 2 jet.
Mach 2. Und
And the second field was that of technology. The technical department also had to deal with new equipment and determine which components were particularly sensitive. All that takes time. And the third inexperience was that of the pilot, because all the pilots were young. We still had far too little experience in handling such a racehorse.
On September 2nd, 1966, the former Luftwaffe fighter pilot and Me-262 pilot, Lieutenant General Johannes Steinhoff, becomes the third inspector of the German Air Force. He is supposed to finally end the Starfighter crisis.
Johannes, with his authority and expertise, Johannes Steinhoff managed to make it clear in the political arena and in the public perception that it was not the aircraft that was the problem, but the overall conditions. And the interesting thing is that we had none of the problems similar to the Starfighter problems with all the other weapon systems. So we learned quite a lot from this whole organizational problem.
Wir haben aus diesen ganzen Organisationsproblemen sehr viel gelernt.
During the Cold War, the F-4 Phantom was one of NATO's most important fighter jets. It began its service with the German Armed Forces on January 20th, 1971, as a reconnaissance aircraft and fighter bomber. Its mission, in the event of an emergency, it's supposed to ensure the complete and timely reconnaissance of all enemy activity.
Ayan, I'm back, guys. Weekend na ulit ako. Weekend na ulit ako, LS ma'am. Okay, Sir Jong. NJ Tofik. Jongjix channel. He give you 5 banana. Please connect to Jongjix, please.
Das direkt der NATO unterstellt ist. Beim Tiefflug mit etwa 800 Kilometern in der Stunde muss die Übungsbombe in ein Netz abgeworfen werden. Ebenso genau muss mit der Luftkanone getroffen werden. Die Trefferzahl wird automatisch an den Tower übermittelt.
During its service life, the Luftwaffe Phantom repeatedly undergoes extensive modernization measures. For example, it's equipped with hardpoints for the deployment of air-to-air missiles or Maverick missiles, a digital weapons computer, and state-of-the-art radar.
Hello. Make a loud shout out, guys.
In its day, the aircraft is the most modern flying weapons system and was in service with the German Armed
Nagugutom
Forces
na
for
ako.
over 40 years. It wasn't decommissioned until 2013.
Yes naman.
An irrational arms race ensues between East and West during the Cold War. On the western side, several NATO countries joined forces.
Maraming salamat po, sabi ni Margie Valorio TV. Sir Jong, thank you so much daw.
It's the new flexible weapons system, the Tornado.
Sana all may 5 saging. Bro, alam ba ka ng bahay mo? Payadahan kita kay Sir Jong. Nag-aayuda siya ng 5 saging. Sir Jong, paayuda din kay Alan TV Vlog.
Its main task is to engage enemy land and air forces.
BFF, sino nagbigay? Puntahan ko. Ito si Jong Jex channel. Yan ang main niya. Go to channel mo na lang. Ayan, Alan TV Vlog. Nagbaba ng bahay.
Close air support, battlefield air interdiction in the hinterland, or the engagement of maritime targets are but a few of its many mission capabilities. In terms of weapons systems, the Tornado has 227
Umikot na nakapin.
and the capability of carrying
Umikot na daw nakapin. Ipin ko si Bro Alan. Alan TV Vlog, ipipin kita. Ikaw na yung sunod.
another European joint development.
10 banana daw sa'yo, Alan TV Vlog. 183 na siya. Sir Alan, OTW, sabi ni Spiritual Healer. Guys, please connect to Jong Jix channel, please.
In combat, the Alpha Jet is designed to support ground troops while engaging tanks and helicopters. Tactical reconnaissance.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. Thank you daw, Sir Jong Jix. Ayan yung main niya, Alan TV Vlog. Yung yung Jong Jix channel. Go to channel ka na lang. Paikutin lang kita, Sir Alan. No problem. Thank you.
So schnell wie möglich verlässliche Unterlagen über Art und Umfang des feindlichen Aufmarsches zur Verfügung stehen, eine rasche und angemessene Bündnisreaktion auszulösen.
The Tornado and the Starfighter are ideally suited for this purpose. For aerial reconnaissance, they're equipped with high-resolution optical.
Guys, mega loud shout out sa inyong lahat. Salamat po.
Their job is to scout enemy troop movements and the enemy command structure.
Natürlich waren die Gefechtsstände.
Of course, the command posts were secret sites, but they were known.
Es war immer eine Frage der
It was always only a matter of time before a site the other side had gone to great lengths to keep secret would be revealed after.
Idol Jong Jix channel, dan sa bahay mo. Maraming salamat po, Idol. God bless po. Sabi ni Margie Valorio TV. Sir Jong, thank you so much daw po. Yung mga legit nating friend. Ang sarap sa pakiramdam yung ganyan, no? Yung nagbibigayan. Yung walang walang mga budol. May mga minsan, yung mga saging binubudol pa eh. Hindi na lang ibigay eh. Nag-LS din siya, BFF. Sinong nag-LS? No worries, Ma'am Margie, sabi ni Sir Jong.
And the bottom line is that no one survives it.
Helmut Schmidt soll mal gesagt haben,
Helmut Schmidt is reported to have said,
Salamat po, idol. No, hindi ko na
Germany raised the
tumaan.
white flag, because then a war would have been absurd.
hat das so geführt.
The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 also ends the Cold War.
Diese Entwicklung
This development came as a surprise in the summer of 1989, and the speed at which events unfolded with the
Dan po sa travel vlog mo, sir. Sabi ni Alan TV Vlog. Thank you, bro Alan.
I don't think it was possible to plan for that.
Upload po kayo lagi ng videos po, mga idol.
And you can also see from the
Yes, sir. Thank you sa mga tips na nakukuha ko sa inyo po. Salamat.
was jetzt heute auf der Agenda steht.
With the reunification of
Oo, upload lang tayo ng upload. Umikot ka na, Sir Alan. Kahit anong video na lang.
The entire National People's Army, NVA, is disbanded.
Yung next ko naman na trabahuin ko yung aking pin.
Is the ultra-modern Russian MiG-29. From the end of July 1991, the fighter is officially part of the German Air Force's fleet. The German Armed Forces take over
Sana makuha ko na
24
siya.
planes and fly them between 1991 and 2004. In the process, the MiG-29 significantly improves our understanding of enemy weapon systems and makes a lasting contribution towards the advancement of Western tactics. Meanwhile, the tasks and requirements of the German Air Force are also changing.
Der Feind ist weggebrochen.
The adversary collapsed. This initially led to various structural upheavals and changes. But what was interesting was that Germany, after reunification, did not have such a special status as the GDR and the Federal Republic did previously, for example, in the United Nations. Because as a reunified Germany, if you are a fully sovereign member of an alliance, then you basically have to be able and willing to contribute just as much as Bangladesh or Pakistan. And that is what Helmut Kohl said in his government policy statement on October 3rd. We will now create the conditions to allow us to do full justice to our international mission.
Internationalen Aufgabe voll gerecht werden.
Okay. Sir Jong, mas mabilis ba? Siguro, dyan sa Pinas, i-address ko dyan, mas mabilis daw matanggap ang pin ko.
And the German Air Force participates in relief.
O di kaya ikaw ang pakuhanin ko. Char.
In Afghanistan, we are completing missions in Afghanistan with our transport helicopter and with our reconnaissance drone. We are participating in counter.
Kasi pag dito sa ibang bansa, baka magka-problema ako, baka mahirap hindi naman ako dito habang buhay. Dito sa akin, probinsya kasi kami, 2 months din, ma'am. Dito, ma'am. Okay. San ba ikaw sa Pinas, Maynila? Maynila, Sir Jong, may kapatid ako dyan, Valenzuela. Mas matagal pala pag province. Diyan ko i-address para mas mabilis.
In foreign missions, now we are once again involved in national and alliance defense. The German government has stated clearly that we have both the duty and the desire to once again become capable of defending the nation and the alliance.
Sana makuha ko na siya. Promise ko, pag nakuha ko yung pin ko, araw-araw ako mag-upload. Char. Magagawa ko kaya yan. Nag-promise pa eh. Sa Maynila, mabilis. Okay, Sir Jong. Maynila ko kasi yung kasabayan ko, 1 month lang sa kanya. Andun na. Wow, galing naman. Galing Malaysia ang pin mailer eh. Okay. Mabilis lang, malapit lang pala. Sana ba ako?
2016, you said the Third World War will be a war with or without AI. Now we have a very conventional war. Can AI help?
One of the reasons for World War III would be if one country has, or one place has advanced AI technology, powers wanted.
Ako mag-upload ka. Agoy, mag-upload ka. Lagi, ma'am, kahit wala papin kasi muni ka na. Okay, Sir Jong. Tinatry ko talagang ano. Ang daming nakatambak na mga video na wala akong time mag-edit. Kaya, pero susubukan ko talaga kaya sinisingit ko. Kaya pag hindi ako nakakapag-upload, nag-live ako kahit maiksi lang. Para update lang. Wait lang. Mahilig ka ba cooking? Medyo, pero mga simpleng luto lang, pero minsan mabilisan pag nagluto, kaya hindi ko na naibibideo. Kaya may mga upload ako na cooking kasi minsan nabibideo ko, pero pag mabilisang hindi ko na Pero talagang trabahuin ko na talaga, napabayaan ko yung YT ko. Siguro 1 taon din na parang hindi ko hinayaan ko siya kahit mangisda, hindi ko na mangisda. Kaya ngayon lang ulit, nasabi nila na mawawala daw yung ads ko, yung harang. Pag, siguro 2 years na to. Gawin mo sa cooking mo, short vids. Okay. Sige, Sir Jong, kasi 15 seconds lang yun. Okay, Sir Jong. Salamat. Kahit yung nasa plato, Sige.
Yeah. I try to take the set of actions that are most likely to improve the probability that the future will be good. And so, obviously, sometimes I think make mistakes in this regard, so it's not like
Kaya.
always get it right, but I aspire to get it right. And so, whatever, I think is most likely.
Megaloud shout out, 6 million in the house. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you sa pagtambay dyan. Dagdag views din yun, ma'am. Halos bilis mag-viral, nakakatuwa. Oo. Oo nga, kahit mga short videos lang.
Why is that book so important for you?
Well, I read a lot of books, and I don't know, for some reason I'm fascinated by war and history in general. I thought that this book was an excellent first-hand account of World War I, and I mean.
Upload mo suot mo, tapos lakad ka slow-mo na lang, parang model maganda. Bro Alan, ako talaga. Hindi pwede pang model. Ano yun, TikTok? Mag-TikTok.
It's not a warning for not having a war ever again. So you're clearly in the second camp.
Well, I think that those who don't like this book, obviously, just because it's not.
Bro Alan, hindi ka ba nag-LS?
No, it's like a report. It's just.
Konti na lang ba kulang mo sa WH mo?
Yes, I mean nobody's reading that book and say I want to do that. I want to do that. It sounds. It makes it very clear. It's a very terrible situation. But he also said it's not like it's it's not like there's no good that comes out of even a terrible situation. There's some good that comes out of it, but it's overwhelmingly bad. It's just really interesting to read about history. Learn the lessons.
Thank you, Sir Jong. Thank you sa pagtambay.
Saying history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, and we see it rhyme these days. Back to the bigger strategic picture. I mean, the terrible actions of Putin are to a certain degree also a result of strategic mistakes that Germany has made. Drop out of nuclear energy.
I think it's very important that Germany not shut down its nuclear power stations. I think this was extremely crazy.
I just wanted to ask a question on that because if we
Tamad ako mag-LS, wala tao, hehe. Ulo, dami kayong tao sa'yo, Bro Alan. Ako nga dati, pag nag-LS ako, wala talagang alagad ko lang tinatambay ko. Tapos nung nakilala ko kayo, ayan, kasi wala man akong grupo, wala akong dati.
And those were the fastest ones to restart. It's crazy.
Kaya tiyaga-tiyaga lang. Yung sabi ko nga ako lang nagpamuni sa sarili ko. Char. Thank you sa pa-heart, Sir Jong. Kailan ka mag-LS ulit? Everyday ka ba nag-LS? Parang nakikita ko minsan hindi ko naaabutan eh. Kasi hindi tayo parehas ng oras. Parang ang aga mo nag-LS.
Safer alternatives that could have a similar effect. So solar and wind is not going to do it. We have any other ideas about future energy policy?
I think long term, most of civilization's energy will come from solar.
Hindi, ma'am. Huwag mo na akong tawaging ma'am. Gabi naman. Shane na lang, Shane. Saturday, Sunday lang. Okay. Saturday, Sunday. So, twice a week ka. Every weekend ka pala nag-LS. Nay.
Please reopen the ones that have been shut. This is total madness to shut them down. I want to be clear. Total madness.
Let's see whether your very clear words are heard.
I'm trying to use the strongest words. Yeah. I would say this is a national security.
Ayan.
Listen, playtime is over. Okay. Obviously, playtime is over. This is a national security. It's a national security risk to shut them down.
It's another bit of that.
Kailangan ko kasi lagi ako upload, Shane, ng video. Okay. Maganda yan kasi lagi ka nag-upload. Kailangan ko Monday, Friday may content. Okay. Pag walang LS, may upload. Guys, mag-end na ako, guys. Guys, mag-end na ako. Sorry.